Tinder. Tinder is our first material that we will use for our fire. It should not be larger than your pinky finger, and some examples include pine needles, pine cones, and small twigs. Kindling. Kindling is our second material for our fire. It should not be bigger than your thumb, and some examples include larger bark pieces and larger sticks. Fuel. Fuel is our last type of wood for our fire. Anything bigger than your thumb can be used as fuel, such as logs and big sticks. Alright, now it's time to learn how to build the different types of fires. First, we're going to start off with the log cabin fire. So what I'm going to do is figure out which way the wind is blowing. So it seems to be blowing that way behind me. So I'm going to take my bark, because my fire pit is a little wet, and I'm going to be placing my tinder on top of the bark just as a starter. So I'm using pine needles, paper bark, and small twigs as my tinder. And then on top of that, I'm going to use my fuel. Now, I'm placing my fuel like this because I want the wind to funnel through the two bottom pieces. And I'm just going to keep completing this pattern here until my fire is as big as I want it to be. This fire is great because it is used for cooking, and you can cook over even heat, and you can also boil water by placing your pot inside. Now that the outside frame of my fire is complete, I'm going to use more of my tinder and build up the inside of my fire. So I like to kind of ball it up or twist it up so it stays. And then I'm going to use my kindling pieces and just kind of build on top of it. I'm kind of crisscrossing my sticks so that they catch all the logs on my fire. So now that my fire is complete, when it burns, it should catch all my logs if I start by lighting the fire at the bottom. You always want to light your fire at the bottom because the flames travel up. If you don't, your fire won't burn all the way. It'll be short. Okay. If you're looking for a quick and easy fire to do something like roast marshmallows, this is the fire for you. This is the star fire. I'm going to start by placing my tinder into the fire pit. Once again, I like to kind of twist it up so it stays. Now, I'm using pine cones because the sap from the pine cones help keep the fire going. Now, around my fire, I'm going to use smaller logs so they all fit into my fire ring, and I'm going to place them in a star pattern. I'm using 5, but you can use more of that if you have more wood available. Now that I have my frame, I'm going to continue to add more tinder. And then use my kindling to, of course, keep building the fire outwards. This fire is great if you have beginning girls this is their first time making a fire. That's how you build the star fire. Next up is the A-frame fire. An A-frame fire is good to use when you need a long burning fire that uses little maintenance. We're going to start by using bigger sticks and creating an A. Next, we're going to take our smaller sticks and build those on top. Now we're going to take our tinder and we're going to fill our A. We're going to continue to build on with our kindling and our tinder. Next, we're going to take our fuel logs and build the entire A. Continue to build your A-frame as needed. And there you have it, A-frame fire. This is the teepee fire. This fire is a little bit harder to make because of its lean-to structure, but it's a great fire for a larger group because it generates more heat. So as you see, I'm starting with my logs already up. I'm going to grab my piece of bark because my fire is a little wet. And on top of it, I'm going to place all my tinder strategically so I can build my kindling on top of it like the teepee above it. Now I'm going to take my kindling and I'm going to attempt to make it stand up like the rest of the teepee. This is a little bit hard, so don't get discouraged if you don't get it right away. You want to build your tinder and kindling pile kind of big so it can catch the rest of the logs. Alright, and that's how you make a teepee fire. To start your fire, what you need is something to light your fire with. You can use matches, you can use a lighter, you can use flint and steel, you can use a magnifying glass, or you can use fire by friction methods. But I'm going to use my trusty lighter. Make sure you light your fire from the bottom and in multiple different spots. Once the kindling catches, it'll catch the fuel. Make sure you keep carefully feeding the fire so that it stays alive. When putting out your fire, you want to make sure when you're using the water that you don't dump directly on the fire. Instead, sprinkle it. Once your fire is mostly out, you can begin to dump water on more freely. Once your fire is cool enough, begin to move the bigger logs out to the side. Once those pieces are moved out of the way, stir your ashes around to make sure the fire is completely out. Alternate between stirring and adding water. Once the fire is completely out, you can safely rake your ashes into a bucket and dispose of them at the edge of the woods if needed.